Regulation of glycolysis. Now, the rate at which the glycolytic pathway operates, that rate can be controlled by allosteric regulation of these three enzymes, that is hexokinase, then phosphofructokinase 1 and pyruvate kinase. Okay, by allosteric regulating these three enzymes, by the allosteric regulation of these three enzymes, the rate of the glycolytic pathway, that is the regulation of glycolysis, is being done. Now, the reaction that these three enzymes are catalyzing are irreversible reactions. Okay, hexokinase, phosphofructokinase 1 and pyruvate kinase. Okay, these three enzymes, the reaction that is catalyzed by these three enzymes are irreversible reactions. Okay, so glucose 6-phosphate is an allosteric effector which inhibits hexokinases. Okay, so this hexokinase is being inhibited by glucose 6-phosphate. Now, high AMP concentration, that is adenosine monophosphate, activates phosphofructokinase 1 and pyruvate kinase. Okay, these two enzymes are activated by high AMP concentration. Okay, so this out of these three enzymes, hexokinase is inhibited by glucose 6-phosphate, and this phosphofructokinase and pyruvate kinase is activated by high AMP concentration. Now, both of these enzymes are inhibited by high ATP concentration. So, high ATP concentration will inhibit phosphofructokinase 1 and pyruvate kinase, whereas high AMP concentration will activate phosphofructokinase 1 and pyruvate kinase. So, in the presence of high concentration of AMP, glycolysis will take place, and if in the system there is high concentration of ATP, then glycolysis will not take place. Now, the citrate and acetyl coenzyme A, these two molecules act as an alternative energy source, and the presence of these two molecules inhibits phosphofructokinase 1 and pyruvate kinase. Okay, citrate inhibits phosphofructokinase 1 and acetyl coenzyme A inhibits pyruvate kinase. So, the phosphofructokinase 1 and pyruvate kinase are inhibited by the presence of citrate, acetyl coenzyme A and high ATP concentration. Okay, these three things are inhibiting phosphofructokinase 1 and pyruvate kinase. The only thing, the thing that is activating these two enzymes is high AMP concentration. Now, these two substrates, that is fructose 2,6-bisphosphate and fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, these two activates phosphofructokinase 1 and pyruvate kinase. Okay, so fructose 2,6-bisphosphate is activating phosphofructokinase 1 and fructose 1,6-bisphosphate is activating pyruvate kinase. And just to recap, the citrate is inhibiting phosphofructokinase 1 and acetyl coenzyme A is inhibiting pyruvate kinase. So let's look at enzymes of the glycolysis, their activator and then their inhibitor. Now, for hexokinase, there is no activator, but glucose 6-phosphate acts as the inhibitor for hexokinase. The next enzyme is phosphofructokinase 1. Okay, this enzyme is activated by fructose 2,6-bisphosphate and AMP. If the system contains fructose 2,6-bisphosphate and AMP, then phosphofructokinase 1 will be activated, and this enzyme is inhibited by citrate and ATP. Okay, citrate and ATP inhibits the activity of phosphofructokinase 1. And at last we have pyruvate kinase. Okay, this enzyme is activated by fructose 1,6-bisphosphate and AMP, and pyruvate kinase is inhibited by acetyl coenzyme A and ATP. Now let's see an overview of the regulation of glycolysis. Now glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate. That's the first step. Now the glucose 6-phosphate is acting as the inhibitor of hexokinase, and that is the reason why this glucose 6-phosphate then acts as an inhibitor of this conversion. Okay, so if the glucose 6-phosphate is present enough in the system, then glucose will not be converted into glucose 6-phosphate because it is present enough. That's why, simply. Now after that glucose 6-phosphate is converted into fructose 6-phosphate, and fructose 6-phosphate is converted into fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. Now this reaction is inhibited by ATP and is inhibited by citrate. Okay, this citrate is produced in the Krebs cycles. So the citrate from the Krebs cycle is inhibiting the conversion of fructose 6-phosphate into fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. But AMP, the presence of AMP and fructose 2,6-bisphosphate will promote this reaction to occur. Okay, so this reaction has two inhibitors and two promoters. The two promoters are AMP and fructose 2,6-bisphosphate, and the two inhibitors are ATP and citrate. Now after that, fructose 1,6-bisphosphate is converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and that is converted into bisphosphoglycerate, and then bisphosphoglycerate is converted into 3-phosphoglycerate. Now in this conversion there is formation of ATP. Okay, this is the step where the substrate level phosphorylation is happening and ATP is produced. So this ATP acts as the inhibitor of this reaction. Okay, we said that ATP is acting as the inhibitor. So the ATP which is acting as an inhibitor is produced in this reaction. Okay, so if this reaction has taken place enough times and enough ATPs are produced, then there is no need of this reaction to occur, and that is the reason why ATP then inhibits this reaction. After that, this 3-phosphoglycerate is converted into 2-phosphoglycerate, which is then converted into phosphoenol pyruvate, and at last pyruvate is converted into pyruvate. Phosphoenol pyruvate is converted into pyruvate, then which gets converted into acetyl coenzyme A. Then this acetyl coenzyme A enters the Krebs cycle, where citrate is produced as an intermediate. Okay. Now the thing is that this step, that is conversion of phosphoenol pyruvate to pyruvate, is inhibited by ATP and citrate. Okay, citrate inhibits this conversion here, and ATP also inhibits this conversion. This ATP which is produced by this step is inhibiting the conversion of phosphoenol pyruvate to pyruvate, and the citrate which is produced in the Krebs cycle also inhibits the conversion of phosphoenol pyruvate to pyruvate. And the thing is that fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, okay, act as an activator for this enzyme. Okay, the presence of fructose 1,6-bisphosphate in the system will promote the conversion of phosphoenol pyruvate to pyruvate. Okay, in this reaction we saw that citrate is acting as an inhibitor. Okay, for the conversion of fructose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, citrate is acting as an inhibitor. Now that citrate is also came from this Krebs cycle. Okay, so this is how the regulation of the glycolysis takes place. Now let's talk about the fate of glucose carbons in the formation of pyruvate. Now aldolase catalyzes the reversible aldol condensation. Okay, reversible aldol condensation is catalyzed by aldolase enzyme. Now this fructose 1,6-bisphosphate is cleaved, and this yields two triose phosphates, that are glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Okay, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate are produced when the fructose 1,6-bisphosphate is cleaved. And this cleavage of fructose 1,6-bisphosphate into this 2 molecule, this reaction is catalyzed by this enzyme aldolase. Now, out of these 2 triose phosphates, that is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate, only glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate can be degraded into the subsequent steps of glycolysis. Okay, only glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate can be directly degraded in the further steps of the glycolysis. And that's why this dihydroxyacetone phosphate is rapidly and reversibly converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Why? Because only glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate can be directly degraded. Okay, so dihydroxyacetone phosphate cannot be degraded into the glycolysis steps. Therefore, it is converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and then this continues in the glycolysis. So the fructose 1,6-bisphosphate gets cleaved into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Then this dihydroxyacetone phosphate gets converted again into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Then we have left with this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, which can be directly degraded into the subsequent steps of the glycolysis. Now, each carbon of this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is derived from 2 specific carbons of glucose. Okay, there are 2 specific carbons in glucose which give rise to each carbon of the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So consider fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. Okay, this is the structure. This is the first carbon, second carbon, third carbon, fourth carbon, fifth carbon, and the 6th carbon of this molecule. Okay, now this fructose 6-phosphate is 1,6-bisphosphate is converted into 2 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and eventually that 2 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is converted into 2 molecules of the pyruvate. Okay, now as you can see, the pyruvate and this G3P, that is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, are made up of 3 carbons. This is first carbon, second carbon, third carbon of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and this is first carbon, second carbon, third carbon of the pyruvate. Now this first carbon is derived from the 4th or 3rd carbon of the glucose. Okay, that's the point of this discussion, that each and every carbon coming from the glucose is fixed. It means that the carbon which is present at the position 1 in glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate or pyruvate has came from the 4th or the 3rd carbon of the glucose. Okay, this carbon cannot come from 5th or 2nd carbon of the glucose or from the 6th or the 1st carbon of the glucose. It has to come from the 4th or the 3rd carbon of the glucose. Similarly, the 2nd carbon of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate or pyruvate has came from the 5th or the 2nd carbon of the glucose, and the 3rd carbon of the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate or pyruvate has came from the 6th or 1st carbon of the glucose. Okay, 6th or 1st, right? So as you can see, this carbon or this, okay, from these 2 carbons, this 3rd carbon of the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is made, either 6th or 1st.